kiss for you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome to my another video on Android app development. And so guys, this will be the part 2 of my video series on become Firebase database expert using Android Studio. Alright guys, so in our part 1 of the video series we had integrated the Firebase SDK with our Android Studio project, and we also added the dependency of the Firebase real-time database. As I can show you here, we added it, and now we are going to work on the Firebase database directly. Alright, so here you can also see that we have this database. So first of all, let's create a unique user. So in order to create a node and a user, so what we have to do is, okay, so first of all, I think we should add the Firebase authentication, and we learn the authentication one because it is very necessary. So here we have to click on authentication, and we set up the sign in method, and we enable the email and password. Alright, so here what we are going to do, we are going to create a register page. So what we can say here, we have edit text, we can say match parent and wrap content, then we set the hint, and here we can say enter email. Alright, and then we can say edit text, then we have match parent and wrap content, then we set the, okay, so also we have to set the ID, and we can say ed email, then we have the password, so we can say ID will be ed pass, then we can say input type, it will be text password, and okay. Alright, and here we can say layout below, and it should be below the email edit text, and we can set the hint as enter password. Okay, then we will have another edit text that will contain the address of the user. So here we can say ed address, then here we can say, suppose we are going to write below, and it will be below ed password, and we can write hint, and for the hint we can say enter address. Alright, and then we can say we have age, so for this we can say edit text match parent wrap content, then we set the ID as ed age, then we can say input type, it will be number, and then we can say it to be below ed address, so it will be below the address, and finally we can set the hint, and the hint will be enter age. Alright, so finally we will have a button. So for the button we can say button match parent and wrap content, then we can say below it should be below age, then we can say text, and it will be register. Alright, so now we have this email, password, address and age. Okay, so for this let's create a model. So for the model, let's create a new Java class, and it's write it as user. Okay, so we have created a user class. So first of all, we should have an empty constructor for our model class. For this we can say public user, and this is the default and empty constructor. Then here we can say public string. So for the first of all we will have email, then we will have password, then we have address, and finally we have age. Okay, we have these 4 strings, and I think we can make it private. So here we can generate first of all the constructor. So for this we can select all the 4 values, and then we also can use the getter. So here we write getter, and we select all these 4 values, and we have this. Okay, so this is the Pojo class or the model class. So here first of all we have to we have to typecast our view. So first of all we have added text, so here we can say ed email, then we have ed pass, then we have ed address, then we have ed age. Okay, so inside our own create method we can write ed email equal to find view by id r.id dot ed email, then we can say ed password, it will be find view by id r.id dot ed password, then we can say ed address equal to find view by id r.id dot ed address, then we can say ed age, it will be find view by id r.id dot ed age. Okay, so now we have these four values. So then what we are going to do is we are going to write okay, so here first of all we have to use the Firebase auth object. Okay, so the Firebase authentication object is very important because it deals with your authentication part. So for this, first of all we will create Firebase auth object and we can name it as auth. Okay, so it is saying that we don't have the class here, so we have to add the Firebase authentication also. So for this we can here select get started with Firebase, then we have analytics, develop authentication. Okay, so here we have the introduction for our authentication, and there we can see the documentation. So for this we have this dependency, so we first of all have to add, so here we have added the Firebase authentication. Alright, so after this we can now import the class, and then here we can say auth equal to Firebase auth dot get instance. So as you can see, this is the class itself and it is the function, so it means that this function is static. Okay, if we open it, and there you can see this function is static, that's why we write class name and the object. Okay, then here we have the authentication. So then what we can do is, okay, so after this we can create a function. So we can say public void register user. Okay, and we pass on our view object because we have to use the on click here. So we go to our XML, and for this button we can say on click, and we have the register user. Okay, so the another thing which I have forgotten is we have to use the internet user permission here. Alright, and after this what we are going to do is we are going to write the code to authenticate the user and create the user inside this authentication. Alright, so for this we can say auth dot create user with email and password. So here we have to provide the email. So for this we can get the text from the edit text for the email, and for the password we can say ed password dot get text dot toString. Alright, so now we have the email and the password both, and here we can use the add-on complete listener because it will tell us that the operation has been successful. So for this we can use the add-on complete listener. So we can say new on complete listener. Alright, so here inside our on complete listener we are going to check if the task is successful or not. Alright, so here we can check if the task is successful. It means that the user has been successfully created and registered, and if it is not, then it will be inside the else part. So if it is the user is registered, so we can print a toast message, and it will be main activity dot this, and we have to write the message that user registered successfully. Alright, and then here inside our else part we can say that user could not be registered. Okay, and then here we also have to now write the code to input the data inside our database. So here we create a function that create database values. Okay, this is the function, and we can write the code for our function here. So here we can write public void create database values, and here we are going to write the code. So first of all, I want to teach you from the scratch. So here we open our real-time database. Okay, so first of all, as you know that the database is in the JSON format. So first of all, we will have a node of type of users. Then inside the users, we will store a unique user ID of that particular user. Okay, so after we are signed up here, I mean after the user is successfully created, so now the user is logged in. Okay, so here I write the user is now logged in. Okay, so if we want to log out the user here, so here we can say auth dot sign out. Okay, so now the user will be logged out of this system. Okay, but if the user is logged in already, then here we can say Firebase user, and here we can say auth dot get current user. Okay, so now we have the Firebase user object, and what it will do is now we can get the display name, then we can get the email, and also we can get the user unique ID. Okay, so every user have a unique user ID. So what we are going to do is here we have to create a particular node of type users. Then inside the node users, we have to create another node, and that will be the unique user ID, and inside that unique user ID we will store all the information of the user. So for this, okay, so I will just remove it, and here we will come inside our Firebase create Firebase value. So here we will write okay, so we create the global variable for Firebase user, and we write Firebase user. Alright, and here we can say first of all Firebase user equal to auth dot get current user. Okay, so now first of all, if we want to create the node of type users, then here we can say database reference, and here we can name it as users ref. Okay, and here we can create a reference. So for the reference, here we can say equal to Firebase database dot get instance dot get reference dot, okay, then here dot get reference dot okay, this get reference will point towards this one, okay, the database tutorial. So it will be the parent node. So here we can create a node, so we can say dot child, and here we can say users. Okay, so as you can understand it, like we have a folder which the name of the folder is users. Okay, so then inside this users we have to create another node. So how we can create another node here? So here we can say data reference users reference dot child, and here we can write Firebase user dot get user ID. Okay, so now here we will have a node users, then inside the users we will have another node, and it will be unique user ID, and then we can say okay, and then here we can write set value or any other thing inside this particular node. So here before this we can create a object. So here we can say user. Okay, so we create a new class user equal to new user, and inside this we can pass on the 4 values. So first of all we have email, then password, then address and age. So for the email we can say ed.getText, or I make it very easy for you. So here we can say string email equal to ed email dot get text dot to string, then we have string password equal to ed password dot get text dot to string, then we have string email password, then we have like what we have address dot get text dot to string, then we have age equal to ed age dot get text dot to string. All right, and then here what we are going to do here, ed we have ed we have the ed email password dot get text dot to string, then we have okay. So here instead of this we can now easily write email, then we have password, then we have address, and then we have age. Okay, so now we have this user object. So the first step is we can just say dot set value and we can pass on user here. Okay, so now what will happen is now the user node will be created here. Alright, so I will now run the app and I show you how this works so you can understand it. So I will install it on my phone. Let me connect it with my laptop. Okay, so now here also we can use the add-on complete listener. So here we can say new on complete listener. So here we can check if task is successful, then we can say task toast main activity dot this, then we can say values stored in database. Okay, and inside all else part we can simply say main activity dot this values could not be stored. Alright, so now we have this these values. So now we can run our application and we check if the database if the values are stored inside the database or not. So now our application is running and I input some of the values. So first of all we can write the email. So I write user@gmail.com and I set the password as 000000. Then we have new address or anything, and then we write age is 1005 and I click on register, and there we have user registered successfully, and there you can see that we have the node users, and inside that the node users we have the unique user ID here, and there you can see we have these 4 values. Alright, so after if we create another user here, then we will have the separate node for our users here. So inside this users we will have multiple users and we will have the multiple unique user IDs, and inside that all their data will be stored. Alright, so if I remove, or if I suppose I delete the application because I did not logged out, so if I want to create another user, so also let's see the authentication one, and you will be able to see the authentication here. Okay, so in the meanwhile I create the second one. So I write second at gmail.com and I also set the password as this, then we set address, then we have age. I click on register, and now the as you the values are now stored, and there let me show you the database. And because my internet is very slow, so that's why it is taking a bit of time. So I have refreshed it. So here you can see we have these two users, and we have the unique user IDs here. And okay, we have the users node here, then we will have these two unique user IDs. Then here this is the second unique ID, and there you can see we have the value, then we have this one. Alright, so that's how we create the node here. Then we create another node of the unique user IDs. If we have the same user ID, then the data will be replaced automatically. Okay, so that's why we have this. These are unique, so these must be unique. So that's why the Firebase selects the unique user IDs for us. Alright, so I think that is enough for this video. So guys, if you like the video, please like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you and goodbye.